Hey guys, how's it going? And today I'm bringing you actually another Udaloi replay. And this one's special for quite a few reasons. This is probably one of the highest base experience games I have ever had in a ship. And it just kind of shows the power that these Russian destroyers have when you play them to their strengths, which is range, accuracy, and honestly firepower for a small ship. Small ship meaning something maneuverable and something that can put a lot of shells downrange without having a large caliber gun to increase the large alpha damage. So I'm starting right off at the action. We're charging into A, just spotting all the ships, and a Fubuki pops out in front of me. And I'm rolling some decent damage into his side, kind of scaring him. I know he's launching torps, so I start turning away. Continuing to shell him, I'm angling my ship so I can get all three guns pointing at him. There's a Bliskovica behind him that I'm a little bit more scared of because that thing is, in my opinion, slightly overpowered. I'd love it to death, but it is. So I'm going to start shelling it while the Fubuki kinda hides in the smoke screen. Now we are going to have to start worrying about the Fubuki torps pretty soon. And I do believe that is the indicator for him. Yep, there they are. It looks like they were leading me pretty hard, and my angle threw them off. I won't hit any of these. Looks like that Fubuki there will dodge them. Hopefully the destroyer or whatever it is off to my right will dodge those too. Sounds like they did. And yeah, sounds like everything but that Nagato dodged all the torpedoes, which is kind of surprising because usually when you get a spread of 15 torpedoes into 3 destroyers, at least one of them will get hit. And I'm starting to shell the Colorado that's giving them support. He's really the only thing in range that I can see, and he's heading towards me, so I'm trying to do just what I did there. Light him on fire, get his damage control party down, and then continue to light him on fire, which will burn him basically to the ground. So I'm going to continue to shell him as long as he's in range and as long as I can't see those enemy destroyers. I'm still playing at the extreme range of my ship. I'm using its strengths of maneuverability and speed. Well, not so much maneuverability, but the speed it has at range and the accuracy the shells have at long range to kind of stay away from the A-cap, stay away from the destroyers, and stay away from the focus of the cruisers that are shadowing those battleships. Even those battleships could leave quite a dent on my small destroyer, believe it or not. So I'm going to continue shelling the Colorado since he's just going to burn, and that shouldn't help his health bar too much, eh? And now that Pensacola is basically the only thing in range that I can see. So I'm going to start shelling that. Since it doesn't have a ton of armor, I will actually do considerable amounts of damage to it if I manage to hit it, which those shells aren't really coming close. But it looks like I'm getting a lot of support with the ships behind me. Pensacola's can't really take armor piercing hits too well, and it looks like a battleship just landed a fairly decent hit on it. My shells are starting to land. It looks like the Pensacola has had enough of this shit and is leaving as the North Carolina starts to charge in. I do enjoy that they're coming in one at a time as I slow down to dodge a return volley from, I believe it was the Pensacola, it might have been that North Carolina. Continuing to shell the North Carolina though, I'm aiming kind of for a superstructure as another volley heads towards me. But I have sped up, and I should dodge, yep, dodged all of it. And look at that, it's our dear friend, the Colorado, popped back out. I'm firing high explosive here. I could have switched to armor piercing. I can penetrate his side armor at this range. But what I'm trying to do is that right there. I'm trying to light him on fire because I know his damage control party probably either just came up or the fires just went out. So I'm going to try to start burning him again. And I have started 2 fires as the Bliskovica that I launched a few shells at disappears. Switched to armor piercing on my last volley. Got about 3,000 damage out of it. So I probably would have done more damage if I had used that, but I wanted to burn down that Colorado, and it does come out to my benefit here pretty soon. There he is again, pretty low health. That Scharnhorst on the other hand is a little bit scary. I can't brawl with him. I can't torp run him, I mean. Destroyers don't exactly brawl larger ships. I can't really get too close, and I can't... He's got decent fire rate, so he will eventually land shells on me if I'm not careful. But he doesn't look like he's focusing me too hard. It looks like he's focusing a ship that went through sea. As I'm going to start lighting up this Colorado that looks like he just popped his damage control party. Very unlucky for him because, yeah, Russia lit him on fire. Started to load the armor piercing again. Rolling, 4,000 damage right through that side armor of the poor stock Colorado. And I think that's why I'm getting such high rolls on here. Well, they are fairly average rolls, but some of those were high. He actually popped his damage control party. Again, looks like I was wrong about that being used. And so that fire won't matter. Hits me a little bit there, but not for a lot of damage. That fire won't matter either. The 20 seconds of the damage control party were still up, but it looks like they were not for those two fires. So he's gonna burn despite his damage repair party going, and between the burning and me peppering him with high explosive shells, he will eventually succumb to the damage that's being dealt. And there's my last volley on him before I go out of range. They should be hitting right now, and bam! There's the fire damage. Burned down over 40% of his ship and killed him with the fire, which gave me the Arsonist Award. So, 76,000 damage done so far in the first 8 minutes of the game. So this is already a pretty decent game for me, despite my team only having a very small lead and having a 2-ship lead, surprisingly. So we're not in a bad position to win this game, but we are getting pushed around quite heavily because the teammates that we do have are either spread out or they're in a position that doesn't really help the rest of the team. So we're going to start to move towards the C cap because I do believe we need the points. Enemy team just started capturing A, we took B, so I'm going to try to snag C so that we continue that point gain and keep them from, well, they just overtook us, so I'm going to keep them from gaining so many points. And there's that Bliskovica I was talking about. Now, he just popped smoke. He either noticed me or was scared by the cruisers that are backing me up. Either way, I cannot see him. I dropped torps to where his position was, but he's actually fairly smart, and he doesn't stick around in that smoke. He stops firing his guns, and he gets the hell out of dodge. There's his torpedoes that were right towards me. Glad I started to move away from those, and it looks like he focused them all on one location. Our Fubuki torpedo run, there's Scharnhorst, so they both killed each other. Kinda what I didn't want to do, but it looks like it worked out quite well for the Fubuki as he got a fairly full health Scharnhorst in return for a, I think he was like a half health Fubuki. In my opinion, very good trade. And good job to him. Miyoko's behind me dropping torpedoes. Buddy, there's a destroyer in here. I don't think he expected me to charge into the smoke, so it's okay that he dropped torpedoes on the enemy destroyer's old location. But kind of watch to where your ships might go on your team and warn them if they start coming too close to your torpedoes. Ooh, Bliskovica just got spotted by the North Carolina that came around the corner, and so did their Fubuki, both of them on very low health. I'm hidden behind the smoke cloud that the Bliskovica had set up, reversing to try to keep myself behind there as long as possible, and continuing to shell the Bliskovica to try to get him out of the game. Shells are hitting, there's a fire, which I don't think he puts this out. His smoke's gone, I'm speeding back up to chase him down so he doesn't get out too far away from my ship, and one more good hit should sink him. He did put the fire out, there's the hit I needed, and he is gone. But it looks like the Fubuki did kill the North Carolina, which is not good for us, because he could easily swing in and capture the D point, as the remaining ships from their team that are on the A point swing around and take B. Looks like our cruisers are going back to help that battleship. We have a battleship behind us in the channel between C and D, but I'm not entirely sure where he's going to go yet. He will probably head back and try to help the team. So I'm going to pursue this Fubuki, since right now He is the only ship that can spot me without me spotting him, and he's probably the biggest threat to the battleships we have left, along with the cap zones that we hold. So I'm going to try to chase him down with my superior speed and nuke the remaining health that he has. And he's hiding over here somewhere, as I am detected. So where is he? I'm thinking he's heading towards D. Come on. Chase him down. I'm angling myself. Oh, there he is. He's trying to get behind the island. I rip off a shot with my guns. Luckily I had the right lead. Enough shells hit, meaning 4 of them, and I sink him. So there's 1 dead Fubuki, and very, very good for my team. There's his torpedoes trying to lead me. Ooh, this one's gonna come close. And the fat Russian destroyers don't exactly like to maneuver sometimes. But I edge my destroyer past that torpedo, and it works out just fine for me. So I have a fairly full health Udaloi at the moment. We have a Tago back there who hasn't taken much damage, half health Tirpitz, and another cruiser. I'm not entirely sure what health he's on, but it looks like he's getting focused at the moment along with that Tago. So not really good for them. They're about, oh, it's a Pensacola. They're on about the same health. And I'm telling my team, the Dmitry Donskoy that's on the enemy team needs to go. He has, I do believe it's 9.2 kilometer sonar that, or not sonar, radar, my apologies, that can spot me if I try to stealth torpedo him, which the Udaloi doesn't stealth torpedo anyway, but it would spot me before I can get any torpedoes off, which could pose an issue for me. They have 4 ships to our 4 ships, but looks like their Pensacola is going to be going down pretty damn soon. He survived surprisingly long for a Pensacola, in my opinion, in a tier 9 game, but I'm going to try to make sure that he doesn't survive any longer. And looks like their Dmitry Donskoy just pummeled our Pensacola to death. Their Dmitry is a very good player, and he makes a lot of right choices in this match, especially taking out some of the ships that we have. Tirpitz is charging the B point like many Tirpitz do. Hipper's trying, I'm thinking he's going to torpedo the Tirpitz. And I'm just going to try to shell the Hipper because he is probably the biggest threat to me at the moment, as well as the closest target. So, continued to shell him with high explosive until I knew he was broadside. Then I loaded the armor piercing and started lobbing that into the side of his ship, which doesn't exactly work out amazing for me. I get a small hit and a ton of bounces, but the fires that I have on that ship, are they my fires? I think they're the Tirpitz secondary fires. There's a fire for me. Are still burning. And I do believe, nope, I actually get the ship with my fire. So, Tirpitz did a death charge into B, and we basically took out 1 ship. I'm dropping torpedoes. I only have 8 kilometer torpedoes, but I'm trying to lead the North Carolina so that he's driving into my torpedo spreads. This will hopefully at least make him maneuver, make him think about the torpedoes I have, and possibly throw off his aim. But really what I'm trying to do here is reset that B cap point, because the enemy team is not far behind us on points. And as you can see in chat there, the North Carolina says, I can't hit this Udaloi. I'm just sitting back at long range and maneuvering really. So I'm trying to throw off his aim. I know he has a long reload, so I'm firing in between his reloads. As soon as I see his guns fire, I immediately start turning. And it saves my ass in quite a few locations just from his shell patterns and how close they get to my ship. So I'm still resetting him. I'm keeping him from taking over that cap and increasing the points lead that we currently have on the enemy team. And there's a fire for him. I start a lot of fires in this game with this little ship. Of course, all my torpedoes stopped short because he didn't continue on the path that I thought he would. I thought he'd charge all the way through as soon as he knew that I wasn't going to stop shooting at him. And there was another shot fired at me. Ooh, those are going to be close. And looks like they came really close, but did not hit me. And something I want you guys to note as I continue to shell this North Carolina since I pushed him out of the B cap is that I always pull back between some of my shots so that I know the location of my ship. You'll see me do this in a lot of destroyers. I call it my twitchy destroyer gameplay. But you see me pull back, look around, make sure I don't have any threats coming at me, make sure I'm aware of where my teammates are, and make sure I'm aware of where the enemies are on the minimap so that I know basically what's going on in the battle. It's all part of that situational awareness that a lot of players sort of lack sometimes, and it's a good thing to do. But as the North Carolina is no longer a threat to capping that, I am switching to the Dmitry Donskoy, who is basically almost... he's a little bit more than 3/4 health. And that's an issue, because he does have repairs, and we only have an Atago. And it's an Atago and me. While I probably could kill the North Carolina, the Dmitry Donskoy has very powerful high explosive, and that will absolutely destroy the little ship that I'm using. But I did get some fires on him. My torpedoes, they aren't going to do anything. They're more of a deterrent for him going any further, and he's too smart to drive into them. The North Carolina is still mad in chat, he can't hit me. But the Dmitry seems to have beached himself, so I pop smoke and I start to shell the Dmitry Donskoy. And like I said, he's smart, he's not going to back into those torpedoes. I set him on fire again. I have armor piercing loaded and I'm lobbing that downrange. I get a few hits, but since I was the ship that was spotting him, since our Atago went behind an island, I no longer can see him, can't see his maneuvers, and therefore can't reset him. But there's a ship burning stem to stern, and looks like he's going to make a run for that channel. Now, being the smart player that he is, I knew what he was going to do. He was going to stop in that channel, and he was going to cap our C point, which once again isn't good for us because that North Carolina just drove back into the B point as the Dmitry went invisible. So I basically can't do anything about C unless I decided to brawl a Dmitry, which, like I said, not a very good idea for me. He does have torpedoes, and he does have very good guns. So I'm going to go reset B like I have been doing. This North Carolina can't hit me, so I'm going to continue to shell him. And really at this point, I haven't looked at the time. I wasn't aware that the time was ticking down. I just knew that we still had the points lead and I needed to protect it at least until we hit 100 points. So I'm trying to keep this reset as C ticks down, and I know that Dmitry's going to rush for D because that ship doesn't turn, and that's the closest that's the closest non-captured point. And I kind of tell the Atago A, not to die, and B, see if you can capture that point because we need it for victory. And I'm really lighting fires on this North Carolina now. There's a Witherer medal for 60,000 damage in just fire damage. And I continue to just pummel it straight to this North Carolina, absolutely dropping all my shells on him just to keep the cap reset. And I did plan on killing this guy if I had the time. I was fully aware that I would eventually have to either burn him down or torp him, or either, if not, I'd have to start stealth capping, which wouldn't work out very well for me because I'd be chased by a fairly fast battleship. But as time ticks down, we stop gaining points because both of our caps are captured, and as I drop these torpedoes to try to head off that charging battleship, time runs out. We win with maybe a 100-point difference, 140 I think, but it was a fairly close game. We could have easily lost that if the Atago had died or if I had failed to reset these caps. And I kind of wanted to bring this game up, not just because it was my highest based experience I ever think I've gotten, but I wanted to show the value that defense has sometimes, and just kind of working with your team, coordinating what you want to do, and working over two caps at once. While I was resetting this North Carolina, the Atago was resetting that Dmitry Donskoy. Like I said, that guy was a lot larger threat because he was a very good player. But really that's all I wanted to say until I show you the scorecards that I had at the end of these games. So getting into the first of the endgame scorecards, I finished that game with 136,500 damage, which is a really good amount for a ship that has such tiny guns. Usually you see that in battleships and cruisers. 15,000 experience. I do believe there was an event going on that gave me a booster, but a ton of experience that I think this was my last game in the Udaloi actually, so that got me my Khabarov, the Russian tier 10 destroyer. It's the Khab. I'm not gonna pronounce its full name correctly. One ship off from having a Kraken, sadly. I didn't get that North Carolina kill at the end because it would have taken me quite a while to work him over. Witherer and Arsonist, both of them give decent flags that you don't see too often, and I was surprised to get Witherer just because usually you see that with a destroyer or a cruiser that is switching between torpedoes or you'll see it in carriers, sorry. You'll see it in something that deals damage with both torpedoes and guns because they will have that stacking, both the stacking dots from flooding and fire. And most of my damage did come from fires, I do believe, with the 19 fires set on those enemy ships. And lastly, I wanted to mention where most of my experience came from. That would be the 32 base defense ribbons and the 1 base capture ribbon, which shows the importance of playing those objectives and defending them once you do have them captured. And since I kind of rambled on that first scorecard, I'll make this one short and sweet. Almost 3,500 base experience in one single game. In my opinion, that's awful impressive for just playing the objective of a game, which is really what Wargaming wants you to do since they added in the rewards for doing so. But big thanks to the Atago and the Fubuki, both who contributed heavily to that game. The Fubuki with its torp runs and its captures, and the Atago with the support at the end game, and obviously for doing a lot of damage. And also good job to the Dmitry Donskoy on the other team. Like I said, very good player obviously. Finished top of his team with, on a loss, 1,500 base experience. So once again, very good job to him, very good job to my team. It was a wicked game in my opinion. Getting into the detailed results screen, like I said, a lot of my damage did come from fires, 66,000 of that from the 19 fires I set, attributing heavily to that Witherer medal because obviously none of the 65 torpedoes I launched hit to cause flooding damage. And that was all from the 338 shells that I fired, doing a total of 70,000 damage, 54,000 of that being high explosive, 16,000 of that being armor piercing, which I do believe was mostly on that poor Colorado in the beginning. And last but not least, I wanted to show the earning screen on this. Now, I did say there was an event going on, but I don't believe there was a booster for credits. While my flags that I had did boost my credit gain a little bit, meaning I do believe it's the military contributor flag, boosts it like 5%, I do believe. I just wanted to show the gains once again that you can get on a high tier ship if you do have a decent game like that. I earned almost 400,000 credits after all my costs for repairs, which were very slight, I will admit that, and the modifications that I have on my ship. So very good earnings for me. Still would have been 250,000 if I didn't have a premium account. So I'd say that was a pretty damn good game. I hope you guys did enjoy this. I seriously enjoyed playing this game. It was a little while ago, like I said. I did get my Khab off this, and I do enjoy that ship too. I just wanted to show the gains that you can actually get from that when you do play those objectives, and when you just continuously reset the enemy ships that are trying to take your capture points. So, good luck out there, see you out there, and have a great day.